The Monday, June 27th, 2022 meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Bonzo?
Here.
Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Hanley?
Here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor?
Here.
And Mayor Smith?
Here. Thank you. Commissioners, we have an agenda this evening. Do we have a motion on the agenda? Commissioner Davis?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzo?
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Announcements. A couple things. This weekend, we've got the Food Fest coming up on July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down at the Lower Harbor. Parade is at 2 p.m. on July 4th for Independence Day, and fireworks are at dusk on July 4th. July 5th is the rain date. So looking forward to those festivities coming up here in the city of Marquette. First item on our agenda, under boards and committees, we have 2 appointments. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the appointments? Pro Tem Mayor?
Madam Mayor, I move to appoint Madeline Arquette to the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee for an unexpiring term ending 06/01/25, and Amy Manning to the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority for a term ending 07/01/25.
Do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Bonzo?
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Pro Tem Mayor, any discussion?
Just thank you both for stepping up and being willing to serve.
And Commissioner Bonzo?
Yeah, same. And I also just want to note that I had actually members of the public comment on both of these folks when they saw their names on the agenda, that they're excited that they're going to be representing the city on these committees.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to our first public comment session of the evening. Members of the public wishing to speak have 3 minutes to do so. Please clearly state your name and physical address. Go and approach the center podium.
Hello, my name is Logan Stauber, 2 Pinehurst Drive, Marquette, Michigan, 49855. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to the city for considering Camp Cannabis as an event in your community. I mean, this is truly groundbreaking in our industry and also for our community. I just want to let you know that I'll be here in attendance with my partner, Stash Wasik, tonight to answer any questions that you guys have for us. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Jay Clancy. I'm the owner of Cognition Brewing Company up in Ishpeming and developer of a new brewery up on 3rd Street that you're probably aware of. Slightly different name. It's called Cognition Bryggeri, which is actually Cognition Brewery, but in Norwegian. For a couple of reasons for that, which I won't get into, but I just wanted to give you a face to associate with this project since you're actually taking action on it tonight, action which I'm assuming is somewhat of a straightforward item that won't have much controversy. So, and I would ask for other questions, but I think I would anticipate the main one, so I'll just go ahead and answer that. That would be, when are you going to open? We've actually run into some supply chain issues which have delayed us a little bit, but I'm happy to say I believe we're within a couple of months of opening now. So very much looking forward to being a part of the vibrant Marquette business community and being an asset to this community. So with that, I'll let you get on with your other business. Thank you.
Thank
If you
you.
do have questions, I would stay for a minute, but
So the time for commissioners to engage is either during
Okay.
the item or at the end, so
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank
okay,
you.
thanks.
Others for public comment? Anyone else?
Hi there, my name's Jacob Soder. I live 1606 Gray Street. I live in Marquette. So I'm a displaced Houghton, Michigan Tech grad. I'm here to talk about the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone, so all the stuff going down at the Business Incubator and the other organizations that just went into the Flagstar building here. I came here from Michigan Tech. We started a company, and I saw the great things that was happening here in the business community here in Marquette. So pretty quickly, I moved over, and I've been involved with the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone ever since. Our business has honestly had tremendous strides since then. The people in that organization are very well connected, and they have loads of experience, not only with the business community here in Marquette and the UP, but in Michigan and the rest of the country. And being involved with that has really helped me take my business from just a concept and an idea to a legitimate, plausible business. We're basically on the final steps of finalizing I guess you could call it a joint venture with the company here in Michigan, and we're taking our product to the next level. So none of that would have been possible without the help of the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. And I believe some other people will be here today to talk about it, but I just want to let you know that they're doing great work and just keep eyes on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I would ask that any side conversations happen out in the hallway and not in chambers. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Hello, my name is Drew Patel. I live at 2445 Warner, and well, Jake kind of nailed it. I run SynCurrent, a different startup, but also under the mentorship of Innovate Marquette Smart Zone, and they're awesome. I really appreciate Joe and his team and all the resources they've given us. So we're a startup that helps entrepreneurs start, shape, and scale, and then connect with the right investors. And our target's actually rural communities, because we're one of them. So yeah, keep supporting Joe, and thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hey, my name is Brad Groves. Also work with Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. I've been doing outdoor rec stuff for a long time, and tried to get a few different businesses going and manufacturing and stuff. Trying to actually start some facilities here in Marquette, and primarily in stolen goods, but we do a lot of other stuff. So the Smart Zone's been really helpful with me. We've got a couple of patents in process right now, and working with Ford on a project that I think you'll see in the news a lot here in the coming months. And we have some more potential working with Ford and some other major manufacturers on outdoor rec product design. So none of that would have really been possible without having that incubator space available. And it's kind of awesome seeing dreams come together, and being able to plan to actually bring in some production kind of jobs here to the community. So.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hello, my name is Brian Kobita. I live at 1037 Alloway Street here in Marquette. I'm born and raised in Marquette, chiropractor in Marquette for 21 years. And it first started out as Invent at NMU, and they helped me take a concept from what they call it, the napkin invention, to a product that actually was manufactured and sold for a short period of time before the company up in Houghton, Michigan fell apart and sold their equipment to Mexico. But now we're hoping to find a new production facility with the innovation of Innovate Marquette and Smart Zone, and they have a great team of people working for them, and I really appreciate all the help that you guys are giving them too. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello. First, I want to thank you all for all you do to lead our community. Thank you. I'm Valerie Olson, 116 Hillcrest Trail in Marquette. As a health professional of over 25 years, I've come today to address you concerning a highly critical health matter. Each of you have been entrusted by the people of our community to enact policies that are for their highest good. I assume that this is the intent of each of you. In 2018, I addressed the city commissioners on multiple occasions regarding the harmful effects of water fluoridation. I provided each commissioner and the mayor with scientific studies which showed undeniable evidence of the harmful effects on the human brain caused by ingesting this toxic substance, especially for our newborn and our children. No action was taken then to place a moratorium on this practice, and we now have even more scientific studies that demonstrate the harmful effects of fluoridation to the human body. The EPA has stated that fluosilicic acid, which is the form of fluoride we're adding to our water here in Marquette, may not be released into the air or water because of its polluting effects, and it may cause the lungs of workers in the phosphate fertilizer industry to be damaged. But instead, this substance was deemed safe to put into the drinking water of 75% of Americans, with no safety studies regarding the cumulative effects on the human body. The EPA has been sued for their negligence, and this case is now in federal court. It's been in the court for a year. The judges ruled they have to come up with more evidence. They have not yet. So it's serious enough to get to federal court. It's really important. In addition, I'm asking each of you to go to the website that I listed on. I hope you got the paper that I had Rachel pass out. If you would each go to the website listed at the bottom of the sheet of information I've given to you, and give an hour of your time to look at the studies and listen to the doctors, the dentists that used to believe in fluoridation and have now learned the truth and the harmful effects of it, and just listen. You're called to enact these policies that will protect the health of the people of this community. Once you learn the truth about fluoridation, you're going to understand why you need to give this issue your immediate attention. With each passing day, more people in our community are being damaged, especially children, the unborn, the young, because this substance goes right into the brain. It accumulates in the brain. It accumulates in the bones. None of that has been taken into account when recommending this practice. And you have the power to end this, to put a moratorium on it until the studies you read are disproven. Over 300 cities in our nation have ended this practice after learning the truth about the harmful effects of fluoridation. And 97% of Europe does not fluoridate because they have learned the truth too. Judges have ruled that it's illegal to medicate the public water supply, and it is a medication. It is an unapproved drug per the FDA. It is absolutely not a nutrient. It is not necessary for any function in the body. Please address this matter urgently. Please address it immediately.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Brian Miller, 712 Chippewa Square. I'd like to speak on the same issue that Valerie was just talking about. First of all, fluoride is a drug and definitely toxic in anything other than trace amounts. You have to excuse my hoarseness. This fact of fluoride being legally classified as a drug comes directly from the FDA. Two of the best known toxic effects of fluoride among many are lowering of IQ, particularly in our children, which is a situation which is disastrous, and also causing hypothyroidism, which is epidemic in our nation and our community. You say fluoride is important to protect the teeth, but are the teeth more important than the brain and the hormonal systems of the body? I would say the answer is a resounding no. Plus, brushing with fluoride toothpaste will provide virtually all the protection that's needed. There is no need to swallow fluoride, and doing so is actually more harmful than helpful. Unfortunately, the simple use of fluoride toothpaste, which almost everyone uses, plus the fluoride in our water supply, puts almost all of us into a range which is toxic for fluoride. With administering a drug, how do you control individual dosage when it is being distributed on a one-size-fits-all manner through the public water supply? And as an aside, if you think administering a drug or a nutrient through the public water supply is important, why aren't you putting vitamin D in the water, vitamin C, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D critically important for COVID prevention, among other things? And just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that. With putting fluoride in the water, the dosage each person needs will vary with their volume of water consumption, the ambient temperatures they're exposed to, their level of physical activity, their level of perspiration, their body weight, and multiple other factors. Also, administration of such a medication to a pregnant woman should be particularly well controlled, and it is not. You don't have any ability to control the dosage, putting it into the public water supply. And there are no safety studies for pregnant women and children in particular. There is one reason This is one reason the Fluoride Action Network is suing the Environmental Protection Agency over this matter. If you persist in adding fluoride to the water, you open yourself up to a lawsuit and all the costs it entails, something you can ill afford in this time of budgetary shortfalls and record-setting inflation. Also, if you are paying for the fluoride, why would you want to do that, especially now when you have these looming deficits? If you're not paying for it and someone else is, ask yourself why they would pay for it. Such parties only give money to gain influence, gain protection, gain profit, or gain some other advantage, which is in their best interest, not the best interest of the citizens you're pledged to protect. So considering all the above, I'm stating in the strongest of terms that it's in everyone's best interest to cease and desist any and all addition of fluoride to the
Excuse me,
water.
that's 3 minutes. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Seeing no further public comment is now closed. That brings us to our presentation tonight, the Innovation Marquette Smart Zones Digital Economy Initiative Update by Leslie Hartman and Chief Executive Officer Joe Teal. Thank you both for joining us. We'll head over to the side podium when you're ready, and I think we'll get the presentation up and running here.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioners, for inviting us to provide an update. I'm going to let Joe kind of take the floor to show some of the progress that we've made over the last year, and I don't know if questions will be now or at the end, but I want to make sure we have time for questions.
Yeah, usually we will allow the commissioners questions and discussion after the presentation, and we try to usually keep the whole presentation to about 10 minutes, including the questions. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to this update. We've made a lot of progress, as Leslie said. I did send you guys a packet with a lot more information than what I'm going to present today. So I'm going to skim through a lot of the first part just with our brand updates and what we've done with our website and all of the marketing and media materials to attract people into the smart zone, to attract people to Invent NMU, and attract people to the region. You'll also see our Make It Marquette stats. If you guys have not visited makeitmqt.com, I would suggest going there and seeing the traffic and who we're attracting to the area in terms of talent, remote workers, and tech creatives. There's a lot of other updates here as well. We do have a new marketing coordinator. Thank you so much. As we've said before, the portion of our budget that does come from the city, about 20 to 22% of that, does support 9 full-time employees in the city of Marquette now. And with Aubrey, we got her from Ludington, amazing marketing coordinator who we just hired. So thank you so much for your support and allowing us to do that. We have a project timeline included. This is just some detail of the projects we're working on and the initiatives. As an overview as a company, and then we have some metrics I'd like to talk about. We've gone through some major events this year, and we have a lot of different events that we've done to attract new clients to our Smart Zone. We've got 5 new, so this is a quarterly metric, right? So we used to show this in a yearly view. We've actually changed all of our metrics and we go into a quarterly view now, so this would have been presented to our board, and this is actually presented to the state. The MEDC, as you know, manages our metrics as an organization, so we're just going to share what we present to the state in our metrics last time around. Had 4 client events in the last quarter, 5 new startup clients, 11 new incubator clients. From our process, we have startups that come in, they go through an incubation process, then they go through an acceleration process. You've met a couple of accelerators today and a couple of incubator clients today. Existing businesses in conversations, these are businesses that we are working right now to attract to the region to expand, similar to EcoSmart Homes, who has 2 new employees in the area, as well as Siren Media, who now has 2 new employees in the area. So these are new businesses we're attracting to the region. 8 conversations there. Angel events, we've had 3. One of our main initiatives over the next year will be attracting angel capital to the region. And we've been actively doing that now, and you'll see in our angel venture grant investments later on, you'll see some dollars there associated with that. Active incubator clients and assistants. So this is our attraction side. Now our assistants is 16. Clients moved to the accelerator 4. So these are clients that went through the whole entire incubation process for 6 months and made it through the validation to go prepare themselves to scale an investment. Swim Smart being one of those you just met earlier, Jacob Soder. Another client that's gone through that process, I actually, Britta Carlson wasn't able to make it tonight, but I wanted to read some, what she sent to me earlier to present to the commission. She couldn't quite be here. The Smart Zone has assisted her company called MedPro Shares. It's an online digital platform for therapist technologies. Smart Zone has assisted MedPro Share with concept validation, formulating, obtaining a patent, introductions to reputable healthcare legal firm, BAF grant funding up to $10,000, entering of the Michigan Women's Forward Woman Up Pitch event, which she obtained 4th prize out of 150 different organizations. I introduced her to the TC New Tech event, which she won in March of 2021. Assisted her in applying in national conferences where she was presented as an innovator. She obtained additional BAF grant funding. We created a clickable demo of her patented site and evolution of her pitch deck to pitch to investors, which she's doing now. Connected to MEDC, where she was featured in Rural Innovation. You may have seen it through the MEDC website. We actually have one of our own here from Marquette, Britta Carlson, was presented by the MEDC as a company for rural innovation. One of only 2. Nominating her for MedPro Shares in Michigan Celebrate Small Business and Best Small Business in 2022. Britta now, today, she's expanded services and now has a brick and mortar building here in Marquette with a ribbon cutting schedule in the next couple of weeks. LSCP will handle that. She has 12 therapists now there at that facility, and you can see it's over behind the old family video. It's an all new renovation that's been done there. Britta right now is working with multiple healthcare investors, looking to expand her business beyond. There's multiple facets to her business, but brick and mortar as well as an online technical database. Continuing on, in the last quarter, existing businesses, we've created 23 new jobs in the region with our existing businesses, techs, and startups. And that was presented to the MEDC. That's the most we've ever created, and that's in 1 quarter. Expanding businesses and new jobs was 4. And we talked about those with EcoSmart Homes and EcoSmart Homes and Siren Media. Angel Venture and Grant Investments, we've created $1.3 million for our clients in angel investment and other grants and other funding. We've also had 2 new provisional utility and design patents in the last quarter. A lot of cool activity. If you look at the screen right now, you're going to see a whole bunch of new businesses and companies. If you look at our 5 main metrics, you'll see we work with brand new startups. We work with startups that move to incubator. We work with existing companies that want to move to the region and expand. We also work with existing companies in the region who want to integrate technology in their business, similar to what you saw with, soon you'll see with a company here, AdSync, which is actually a Bennett Media expansion, a technical platform that he'll be using for new marketing and media platform. Art Lab is a company that we recruited from the southern states to be here and put a 3D printing facility at our site as a joint venture. If you come over to our building, you'll see a brand new 3D printing lab. That was a joint venture between us and the company that now has moved to the area for climate. Actually, they were climate nomad and wanted to be in a secure region with water security and climate security. We talk about EcoSmart Pro Homes. X3 is a company from Baraga. We're working on 3 projects with Ford right now with X3 to expand their technical capabilities. Revan, who's here, we have Silas here in the crowd, is a fantastic story, a tech creative from the region. Gained some great news not too long ago, and he's able to now bring more talent to the area and hire new talent. Also working with Ryan from Mati and a new ground level, level 0 tech creative studio. That's in the Mati building. We're supporting that for our tech creative community. With the Make It Marquette campaign and the attraction with those tech creatives to the region, we want to make sure they have a landing pad as well, and that's in the basement of Mati if you guys want to check that out. There's a whole bunch of cool new tech equipment, and Silas is there with his team. Lots more to talk about. We also just launched a national product called PauseMe. It's a Zoom controller, invented at NMU, worked with a developer to create a Bluetooth Zoom controller. That controller, the first month was about 3,000 units in sale, and they're targeting to be over 30,000 units. We created that in our Innovate Marquette Smart Zone here in Marquette. You can check that out online. We also have some pretty cool student projects. Right now we have VersaQuest, which is an electrified paddleboard. Many of you saw that at the last LDFA meeting. That's one of our goals is to take students through the Invent NMU program, and then also expand them into the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. We're building prototypes for that product right now. It's a really innovative product if you guys want to come check it out. There's many more things that we're working on. I don't want to take up too much. We only have 7 minutes, but I would love for you guys to come down, check out our new building, check out all the collaboration that's happening there, and all the students that are there throughout the summer. We'll be building a really cool concept. We're building our Van Ambassador program, which is our outreach program. We're modifying a Ford full-size van. Will be solar powered. That will take our message to all 15 counties of the UK. And that was a gift that was given to us by a foundation in Lower Michigan. We work with NMU on that. There's some examples of it. Finance, I'm going to go just through quickly. From a finance reporting perspective, we're in great position right now. We do have some capital spend that's coming up in the next 6 months. We're building what we call the ECP platform. This is a economic development collaborative platform. which allows us to monitor, track all metrics and all of our clients through the whole entire process of the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone through incubation and acceleration. Also, we have a micro gifting platform that we're building right now in partnership with the NMU Foundation and NMU Alumni Association, which is a micro gifting, micro crowdfunding platform. So we're building those right now. Any questions? I have a lot more to say, but I'm sorry I have to cut it short.
Thank you. You did a really nice job. There's a lot of jam-packed good information here on these slides, and we certainly have started to read through and continue to read through this after the fact. So thank you. I think I'll see if the commissioners have questions. I have a few, but maybe folks will have other things that are similar to what I have to say. I guess I did want to say it's really nice to see a show of support. You've got a lot of folks here who've been impacted. You tell a good story of, you know, the work that you've been doing, and I'm sure we have a few questions, but looking forward to hearing a little bit more. Commissioners, questions, discussion? Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. So the financial performance, is this, it's not a full year? I don't understand. It's October 2021,
we
April
do
20.
it by quarter, we update it by quarter, so we roll over our financials.
That's 6 months,
Yeah.
though, isn't it?
This is a six-month presentation here, but normally we do it by quarter, yeah. So this would end at April 2022.
Right.
This is the last time that we updated.
Okay. So generally, organizations, when they come in front of us, they're letting us know what they did in the past year. So I understand that that's how you report to the MEDC, but it would really be appreciated since we have to report to the public and we have a budget process that we have to do, and we just went through a very significant budget conversation. And I believe this was also mentioned last year when you came and presented to us. We need to know what the numbers are, sir. So I appreciate that you have a strong social support. I know that you're doing good things for the community. But the community also, we've just asked them to increase their taxes. And so we do need to understand how the numbers are being spent. And this is 6 months of information. It's not a full year, and it doesn't bring us up to date.
Okay.
So, and we talked about this at last year's meeting. I believe we did eventually get a report from them, but a lot's happened. So, but we would like to see the numbers in writing, please. And could we have those maybe, in a couple, it's 4th of July coming up, but maybe, in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we have actually a finance committee meeting every single month, and we update all our numbers every single month. So this was presented in our last turn of financials, so that meeting is on Thursday of this week. So I'll have everything updated, then I can provide it to you.
So we would need 12 months of information,
Yep,
please.
I have that, and I'll record it, yeah.
Thank you, that's all.
Okay, other commissioners? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Thank you, Your Honor. Certainly lots of things going on, very busy organization, lots of potential, lots of possibilities. But I think what we are most interested in is a very parochial question of what's happening in Marquette, not the county, not the UP, not the surrounding townships, but what is the value for the money that Marquette is contributing that we are having happen in the city. And particularly what I'm looking at, what would concern me would be those items that become taxable. And I realize that that's, from a politician, that's a dirty word, and that's not kind of the things you want to talk about. But yet, we have roads to maintain, infrastructure to maintain, we have all of those things that we have to fund and do every year that depend on a flow of investment money of one type or another. We depend on taxes to make all that work. So my question to you then is, where are we with fighting that battle? In other words, returning to the city of Marquette, those businesses developed by your entity, by the smart zones, that are contributing to the tax base in this city.
Two sides of that. We do have organizations that now have brick and mortar that's up and running, that are paying taxes with MedPro shares. There are multiple employees that have come in from expansions. And then we have our own employees as well. So we do have 9 full-time employees in the organization. If you look at it, like I said earlier, with the budgetary dollars that come from the city, and that really supports those employees within Smart Zone. And then those employees take then the state dollars and we apply that to all the individuals here to expand and help them with their businesses. That's how our budget mainly works. So you have the nine employees, and then you have all the other additional businesses that we've grown. You're looking at, Silas is hiring multiple people to bring them to the region. He's hiring people from all over the country, all over the world to come to Marquette and be a part of his business and stay here and live. Siren Media's hired 2 people who have homes in Marquette. EcoSmart Homes has 2 people that are now living in Marquette. And all of those jobs that we created are people that have now here, staying here, living here, in addition to us now, being instrumental in the renovation and development of a new tech hub. I also think that, hundreds of people will be here due to remote workers coming to the region because of the outreach that we put out there through our Make It Marquette campaign.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Bonsall?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I think there's some really exciting stories that we've heard tonight and some good information in here. I have 2 questions. First, can you talk a little bit more, please, about how you're taking the funding that you do get? Most of your revenue comes from TIF, which I think, as Commissioner Hill noted, I mean there are budgetary implications of that funding. How are you leveraging those dollars to try and get some grant funding? What have you gotten so far? I saw in this, at least this 6-month summary, that it's about a little under 90,000. But then on slide 18, it looks like you have some more grants you're receiving, or some more larger grants that you're applying for. Could you just talk about what your plans are to leverage grant funding, kind of
Sure.
make those tax dollars go further?
Just clarify though, from the TIF funds is about 22-24% of our budget. The rest of the money does come from the state. So of our overall budget, about that 22-24% does come from the city. So it's not a majority of our budget. It's a minority of it. Our grant dollars, we actually just got a federal grant, EDA grant, one of only 7 regions around the United States, rural regions. We got a $700,000 grant from the EDA to create a venture capital fund here in the city. So that's one. So we were able to acquire that. That's the first time that we've ever gotten an EDA grant in Marquette for anything in economic development like what we're doing. We also have gotten a lot of other grant dollars for clients. So we just got a BAF grant. SwimSmart worked on it, $20,000, $10,000 for MedPro shares. We got other BAF grants in process right now. We did apply for other grants. We weren't awarded those grants. We're very, very close to being awarded a $1.5 million grant from the EDA. We also applied for the Build Back Better grant, which is a $75 million grant to electrify the whole entire trail network system of the UP and create a whole new economy around outdoor recreation and electrified mobility. And we weren't awarded that grant. Actually, Detroit got that grant. Techtown did. We're in the process right now of applying for an Nsf grant, which is called Nsf Engines Grant. That's a $160 million grant in collaboration with Houghton, Marquette, Traverse City, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, all the way down to Port Huron, Michigan. That'd be a 10-year, $16 million per year grant that would be allocated to create what we consider an innovation hub in mid-Michigan, that we would be a part of that conversation. We're doing that with them as well. There's so many more. I mean, I could go down the whole entire list and tell you everyone, but there's quite a few more that we do all the time. We've just got done writing an Indigenous Communities grant with KBIC to create a sustainable materials tech hub at the with KBIC in one of their tech parks. And that was with Co-Mediate, another startup that came through our business. We wrote a RISE grant. We weren't awarded the RISE grant. We don't know if we've been awarded the RISE grant yet. So that's a $600,000 grant that we wrote for to help support our tech initiative here, but also Shop House Park, which is a North End project around electrified mobility and tech in that space. It's Dave Olawa, which you guys may know. He's also our entrepreneur in residence here in Marquette. He works for us as an entrepreneur in residence for outdoor rec and outdoor rec tech.
Awesome, thank you. I'm also mindful of the fact, when we talk about economic development, I think it's exciting. You said, in the last quarter, you've created a couple dozen jobs and have businesses expanding, getting patents. That's exciting. I think if that growth can be maintained or accelerated, that you guys are going to continue to make a big impact in the community. One thing I am mindful of, though, I guess just thinking about some of the businesses that we've heard from tonight, or maybe just businesses I think that generally that often come out of these innovation hubs, like Innovation Marquette. I think something we need in Marquette, given that most of our residents don't have a college degree, even though we are a college town, are maybe manufacturing firms, small, medium to larger manufacturing firms, jobs that you can do without having a 4-year degree. Maybe you have some kind of technical certification, or you can do on-the-job training, or something like that. And I'm curious what plans or initiatives or businesses you're all working on right now that might be able to bring some of those opportunities to the community.
Yeah, majority of our, jobs that we create really are 21st century jobs. And many of them do require, higher level education. I think that's the longer play. So what we're really working on right now, beyond getting startups here and getting business to expand here and helping our existing businesses, pivot with technology and create those types of jobs, is really getting that investment piece in place where we have a solid deal flow with solid investment coming to the region, which we're seeing now. We haven't presented enough high-level technology businesses to be able to capture a deal like a joint venture or additional funding in a big way. Those are the ones that really create jobs, and also business attraction. Right now we worked with Omeo for a number of months. Right, we didn't get them to Marquette. Omeo is a Segway wheelchair company that's now manufacturing their product in Arizona. But when they asked us, what do we have to have in the region? Well, what capital is one, housing is another, and then obviously talent, right? And we just missed that one. So we're really close. That's the best conversation that I've had since I've been here of a real company coming here to create those types of manufacturing jobs. We got another one on the table right now with LilyPad, which I think we're probably hopefully going to be able to land. LilyPad is potentially going to partner with a local existing manufacturer to expand them into X3. We have that conversation coming up tomorrow. We'll have that whole conversation with our whole team at the Innovation Hub, but also bringing that business here would create those types of jobs. So those are the businesses we got to get them started, be able to attract them here and get them here and keep them here. And we've had a couple of really near misses, but that's how we create those, and that's our plan. So we're continually doing that. This outdoor recreational electrified mobility space is hugely attractive. And having a new hub here where we have all resources in one building where someone can come in and they can get everything that they need right there is a huge benefit to that. What the Kaufman block allows us to do is recruit. We can recruit on the same level as Ann Arbor Spark. We can recruit on the same level as Escape in Colorado. We can mass challenge. Those types of organizations, innovation hubs like we have with the talent that's there, and all the resources that we need. Right? That's how we can go out and have those conversations and compete. So we have all the tools now. We have one more piece of getting this venture capital fund together, getting the state to work with us on that as well, and get our angel group reinvigorated here, and we're working on that as part of our EDA grant. That's kind of the final piece of that, to pull that together. If I would have had, the ability to have a $2.5 million investment in Omeo, they'd be here right now. I was just, a couple months, and I would have been able to pull that one off, and that would have been 20 jobs.
Yeah, and those are the kind of opportunities I think we need, so I'm glad that you're working on it. You almost kind of answered my last question in that statement there, but I was going to ask, to bring those kind of businesses to Marquette, what are the things that we really need, or maybe need some more of? I think you mentioned capital and housing, which are certainly things that we've heard.
Childcare is a big one.
Childcare?
Is number one, and also opportunities for trailing spouses. That's been a huge question, and those are some of the some of the things we've been really working on. I mean, we're able to find housing, for a few people that have come to the area. But it's been challenging. Art Lab was able to purchase home in Marquette, but Art Lab, as a CEO coming here to partner with us, he had a lot of capital and had the ability to buy cash and pay way above value. And unfortunately, that's the situation a lot of times that we're in. So he was able to find a home here. It's a challenge. And I think with the continued work, with everybody working on housing and childcare and the issue of trailing spouses, they give us a lot better opportunity to be able to bring those businesses here. You're not talking to a lot of people. I mean, Revan, they're talking 10, 12 tech creatives who are going to come live in the region. We got to do a lot of those, right? And we got to be successful at that. And we got to show that the work-life balance is valuable to them. That's really what the Make It Marquette campaign is, to show these tech creatives and to show this talent that this is an amazing place to live and bring your business here.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, certainly we're not going to get the next big, factory that's going to employ 1,000 people. We need, 100 local businesses employing 10 or 20 each. Yeah,
that's right.
So I'm glad that you're working on that, and that's certainly consistent with what we've heard from Invest UP and other economic development groups. So hopefully we can keep working together on that.
And there's some big initiatives right now. I mean, there's some really cool big conversations with electrifying the trail network here, right? Talking about sustainable materials and sustainable tech to supply the outdoor recreation industry. We have a mining industry here that's been, is going to have an end at some point. So to be able to work on sustainable materials and be able to use those lands for that is a huge opportunity for us. We're working really hard on that. And that's what this last grant, this Indigenous Communities Grant does, is it does research around sustainable plastics and sustainable materials. We can create an industry around that. And so we have to have targets. We have 3 main targets at Smart Zone: sustainable tech, accessible tech or outdoor recreation, electrified mobility and accessible tech, and creative tech. We can create a lot of creative tech jobs in the region because those are very mobile jobs. And this is a great tech creative community here. We need to continue to work on that one. We need to really start being able to attract outdoor recreation industry jobs around electrified outdoor recreation mobility and electrified outdoor recreation products. It's something that we can compete in. We have the environment here. You can draw corporations here to do research and do testing on their equipment here. And then sustainable tech. Sustainable tech is a huge industry. We have the largest body of water right out there. We need to be talking about sustainable technologies to continue to ensure the safety of that, as well as utilizing the natural resources we have here to build products in that industry that are recyclable and reusable.
Well, thank you. That's all that I have, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, and thank you to those of you who came here and gave us little testimonials about how helpful that Innovate Marquette has been. It's very helpful. It gives us a different perspective on things. And it was very nice to get the presentation ahead of time so we could try to sort through that. There is so much there. There's so much that you've got going on. And we only give you 7 minutes to talk, but and it's like our brains are trying to keep up with your words. I am going to agree with Commissioner Hill that it's very helpful for us to have not just quarterly reports, but and I guess I don't mind them quarterly if there's a trending over the years, but it's most important for us to see what the trend has been since we've been financially supporting it since 2014, what has happened during those years and where's that growth? We want to tell that story to our taxpayers because as you all know, that we've just raised our taxes, but $400,000 to the Smart Zone and plus school TIF is significant to our community, and I don't think you're getting TIF from anywhere else. So and that's kind of a repeat of Commissioner Stonehouse's that's where our questions lie and what we have to tell the story for our voters and our taxpayers in the community. And again, with the budget, that's a 6-month budget, so we can pretty much double everything there, like.
Well, it's a roll-up at the end. You can see the roll-ups on the bottom.
A roll-up.
On the bottom.
For what's budgeted through
Yeah.
the fiscal year?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's.
Yeah, I pulled the actual financials out of it to conserve time and do a summary. That was my mistake.
Say that again. So the total revenue that you're operating on is $906,000?
Yeah, if you look at the TIF revenue on top, you see the actual and projected, and then you'll see additional grants revenue, and you'll see
Okay,
inventive.
but this is an annual, not a 6-month?
Yeah, so this is showing the financial performance and basically against our total revenue for that time period. So if you look at our total overall revenue for the year, what's budgeted is the 1.102001. And if you look at the actual, we're at 985,924.
This one. Okay, all right.
Excuse me, is that 6 months or 12 months?
Yeah, so this
That's
one.
what yeah.
So this is showing, if you look at the financial performance from 2021, October 2001 to April 2022. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see that there's the roll-up at the end.
So
you're seeing revenue versus expenses.
For the whole year.
Yeah.
For the year. This is not a 6-month.
The
this is a
yellow
year.
line, unrestricted cash, it
Yep.
demonstrates the whole year.
Yep. If you look at the actual right now versus budgeted, that's a roll-up for where we're at for what we would expect for the
that's
budget.
cash on hand. Okay. And I understand that, but that doesn't help us understand what was actually spent. It just shows that you have the money left over.
Right.
We are held accountable by the public to where we spend the money.
Agreed. So I will give you the full year roll-up with all the details, with the budget, with everything there.
That would be helpful, I think, for a lot of us.
Yeah, we're required by the state, by the MEDC, to spend 80%. We can only retain a 20% at the end of the year.
Okay.
So what
your
you see
TIF
here-
revenue that you're showing there is your total TIF revenue for the year, which is the $400,000 from the city, plus some TIF from the schools, and plus money from or that's just TIF revenue.
Yeah, but under TIF, we show all that revenue from the state and from the city. It's combined into one, and I'll break that down.
Okay.
In a report to show you the difference.
All right, so then I'm just curious about you have your professional or your personnel expenses, but the professional services, what kind of professional services do you purchase with that money?
Yeah, so local providers of patent services, legal services, all types of services that we provide for our clients, writing grants, all those types of things that we spend for our clients.
So you pay a grant writer, you don't write the grants within the
It
community?
depends on how difficult it is, if we have the capability to.
Okay.
Right, but we do many of them in-house. But these dollars are for services that we provide through professional services for the clients.
So your presentation caused me to go back and look at some of the history of the LDFA, and I think I'm going to direct questions to Leslie now. That it was somewhere maybe in the 80s where we started in LDFA, and it was for our river park and industrial park and to get some infrastructure there. And then it was in 2014 that we moved over to the smart zone. So I'm curious if the LDFA does anything with the industrial park anymore or anything other than smart zone.
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. So I'm also just curious if you could help. I know the LDFA is really where our TIF, and that's your responsibility is what's happening with our TIF. But then so that's a separate board, that's a city appointed, and then we have a smart zone board?
Yes, we do.
And Innovate Smart. Okay, so could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the two and how that all intertwines?
Right, so the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone Board manages the operations of Innovate Marquette Smart Zone, and we report everything to the LDFA board.
Okay, and do you also need to report to, because are we still a satellite of the Houghton?
We don't report to Houghton.
You don't
We
report,
do have
so you have,
we have
so you have
representative on our
local
board.
people here in Marquette that are on these Innovate Marquette, so.
Yes.
Okay,
And we have a state representative from the MEDC. We have a representative from Houghton.
okay.
And then we have local representatives. And they're not just local, actually, there are many locals, but we do have locals who have, moved to different regions who are also on there. For instance, Nancy Lyons from Clockwork. She lives in Minnesota, but she's a Marquette native.
Okay. All right, I think that's all my questions for now.
Any other commissioners? Pro Tem Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Joe, I just wanted to, I guess, first off, thank you for coming, presenting to us. If you could get us a full year financials.
That was my mistake. I should.
That would be very helpful for us.
I meant to do that, and I went through the presentation. I should have done that. I apologize.
One of the things, though, I thought I heard you say, so the city dollars that you receive account for about 1/4 of your budget. So, and you said the other 3/4 are from the state, right? For every $1 the city gives you, you're leveraging $3 into the community from the state of Michigan, right?
Correct.
How much?
I understand it, yes.
How much are you bringing in with that same kind of concept via angel investors or venture capital?
Yeah, so in the last quarter, we brought $1.3 million to businesses.
In
through
private
efforts.
equity?
Private equity, grants, other types of investments, yes.
Fantastic. Personally, Innovate Marquette, I'm always just so giddy about the concept that this is going on in the city I live in. I really see you guys are trying to create an industry sector that's going to be the future economy and really pursuing that. And I love everything about that. And I've had the opportunity to meet with a couple of the spotlight clients you had up there. And, every time I've chatted with them, it's exciting just to listen to them and some of the things they're working on. Some of the times I can't understand exactly some of the stuff they're talking about, but that's all right. I just think this is, it's one of those long-term games where, a startup typically is, from inception 3 years out, and then its growth phase is, anywhere from that 3-year up to a 10-year mark before it hits a maturity phase. It's typically how a small business kind of operates. And it's really a long game you have to play here. And I do believe that there is going to be long-term benefits for this community and a lot more jobs, a lot more industry that's going to be created as long as you guys can keep doing what you're doing. And that's just my personal feelings and thoughts on this. But
To back that, we're part of the Center of Rural Innovation. There's 20 cities around the country that were chosen, Marquette being one of them. and we're a highlight there. David went down there, and we were highlighted there as one of the leading communities in Corey, for Corey Center for Rural Innovation. And the reason for that is because of the efforts we've done. The Make It Marquette campaign is nationally recognized because of that work. So it really takes three great things when it comes to creating what you're talking about. And we've had our time, all right, in terms of building the organization and building the foundation and building the brickwork to be able to do what you're saying. And you're seeing that transition to outcomes. It takes about 5 or 6 years to get a smart zone like this off the ground, and that time's gone. And when I came in here, the things we talked about was now it's time to transition, it's time to move forward, it's time to create jobs and create that excitement. And that's what we're doing. So to state your point, we're right in that transitional phase now. And we need everything from here. If you look at the other smart zones and who we follow as best in class from around the country, this isn't a new concept. It's happening in Boulder. I mean, one of the biggest economies in the country is happening in Boulder because of this effort. That was a 15-year effort. But in the end of that effort, now they have exits and they have huge job growth in that space. And we're following that. Same Ann Arbor Spark, same thing. It took about 5 years to really get that rolling. And then once they got rolling, it really was hugely impactful for the city of Ann Arbor. And you see that now today. And you will see that here in the next 5 years as we continue on this path.
Thank you.
Sure, Commissioner Hill, and then I have several
thanks,
questions
yeah.
here.
So you mentioned that you have a couple of capital costs coming up. Is that, how much of the $985,000 that you have on hand is going to be spent? 200 of that, and is that a local company or is that?
It's a Houghton. We're going for bid right now, but the two main running companies are in Houghton.
Okay.
Yeah, there isn't anybody locally that can bid on that ECP platform.
And and you said that was to build, sounded like software platforms?
Right. So the software platform is to manage and track every single aspect of the whole entire Kaufman block. In all the partners, all the clients, everybody there, so we can give real-time updates of status and improve efficiency through the process. What's going to happen here in the short term is that because of all of the effort that we've done in the outreach that we've shown, that's all being marketed now. So what's going to happen is we're going to get a huge inrush of additional clients and additional people coming to the organization for support. Well, when that happens, we need to be prepared to scale. Right now, we're at capacity in terms of being able to manually manage that process. So we're building the platform to be able to scale.
And is any of this going to impact the question of, the fundamental question which you've alluded to, which is housing? And given that you have hundreds of thousands of dollars on hand, is anyone talking about how you might use that money to help support actually getting housing built?
Well, that's not, again, that's not in the mission of our organization. Our mission of our organization is to build a tech ecosystem. And those accumulated dollars over time, we're now beginning to scale that. So to create more tech jobs and create more tech industry is what our initiative of the organization is. We don't have an initiative to build housing, nor can we do that.
How would you partner with organizations to do that? Has anyone in your organization thought about that?
Absolutely. I mean, LSCP, they're absolutely talking about housing. We're talking with InvestUP about housing. InvestUP is down lobbying for $60 million right now to help support housing. We're supporting all of that in any way we possibly can. And when that housing's here, we absolutely plan to fill it with tech jobs.
Thank you.
That was actually part of one of my questions, so thank you, Commissioner Hill.
We can't spend money on that type of infrastructure per our bylaws.
Yeah, maybe not directly, right, but the partnerships and supporting, like you mentioned.
Sure.
I think that the commission should absolutely take you up on your offer of a tour. If we could get that coordinated with city staff sometime, summer, fall, it's not an urgent thing, but would love to be able to take a walk through and kind of just see, hands-on how it looks. It's my understanding that the city of Marquette, through the TIF capture, contributes about $400,000 annually.
Correct.
And could you possibly walk through where that's reflected on that financial sheet?
It's not broken down by the city. It's actually the state and city coming together for those dollars.
Okay.
So I need to break that down for you.
And I know you mentioned that, but I just kind of wanted to hear that. And I guess my main question then related to that, and I know you're going to send more information, I appreciate that. Obviously, we're the city of Marquette, right? And I want to support our surrounding communities as much as the next person, but with our limited tax dollars, we're having to tax our city residents, our city business owners more right now. So I'm wondering, I know, that TIF capture, that 400,000, I would hope that that would go towards more city of Marquette
It's all city.
focus.
absolutely.
Okay. And the question I have is like the Make It Marquette video, fantastic, but there's Ishpeming, there's Nagani. I love that that's being supported. What dollars are supporting the other communities, or how can you talk about how we're all working together with a variety of funds? I think just explaining that would help.
Yeah, so the dollars.
Piece it together.
yeah,
Thank
the-
you, Joe.
Yeah, the dollars for Make It Marquette and that initiative, we did have a couple, one from Big Bay, one from Michigan, one in Uganda, just kind of keep everybody collaboratively together, right? But again, that's all attraction to Marquette. So, we looked at that as an early phase to understand, like Marquette and the surrounding areas are a really great place for entrepreneurs to come and.
Marquette
create a bus-
County.
Yeah, to come
Yep.
and create a business and do all of that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but all of our initiative in the Make It Marquette campaign truly is to attract businesses to Marquette, City Marquette.
But a lot of those residents in focus featured in were from
Yeah,
other
to
areas.
build a brand and
Yeah.
understand what remote work is,
Okay.
but also to understand that this area is a really good place to come.
So were other dollars leveraged to make that were not city dollars then?
Yeah, so that, I mean, state dollars, right?
That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to get at. Like,
Yeah,
how do
so
these
it-
things all come
yeah, if
together
you
to
look at
support
our
the broader?
actual- If you look at this personal expenses, salary and benefit, if you look at that across the board, and at the end of the year, it's basically equivalent to the staff. So if you look at the $400,000 coming from the City of Marquette, if you run that into our budget, you'll see that it basically supports our full-time employees.
Got it.
And then we take all that talent and we go and we use the remaining dollars for services and our own knowledge and expertise to help businesses grow and attract businesses.
Thank you. And I guess the second point I wanted to make was what Commissioner Hill kind of touched on. Obviously, we have a housing problem. That's not something that I expect you all to solve. Maybe you have ideas, maybe we can partner, but
I have a lot of ideas.
I hear that you're bringing in more workers, and I love that. But my concern is they're moving into houses and we don't have enough houses as is. Not all your problem to solve, but something that I'm aware of. Do you know how many people, do you have a count of how many people have moved here in whatever time period you want to say? That's the part where I'm like, okay, is this adding to the problem that we're also we're building the airplane as we're flying it, right? We've got we need housing at every level, so.
That's where we really focus a lot on remote work right now. I mean, the majority of our.
But remote work, if they're moving here from somewhere else.
I
We
mean,
have that,
yeah,
like Siren is
yeah.
remote here, but they were able to build a house, but I don't know.
yeah, so for instance, Siren is a great example.
Yeah.
So the CEO of Siren built a home here, new build, hired 2 employees here. So they do have, and they were able to find housing. But again, remote work, people aren't actually, staying here long-term, potentially we want them to. Like ArtLab, we want ArtLab, say an ArtLab was able to get a home. But many of them come for, short durations of time or a month or 2 or 3 months, and then they have to go back where they're.
So then are those taxes even being captured here? I guess that's my question. If he would like to invite you over to the podium to contribute to the presentation, that's fine.
Okay.
But this is recorded for the public, so it needs to be on the microphone.
Yeah. So are we contributing to the issue? We have a lot of ideas on how we can help
Okay.
support housing and how we can partner with organizations to build additional remote work or temporary housing. We're working right now with InvestUP, with multiple organizations. We talk about the Holiday Inn, we talk about Mount Shasta, who have housing to bring people here. We're trying to help support that and change their mindset and create new ideas of how they could do that. I know the focus is on housing, and I understand that, and there's a lot of people working on that.
Or taxes, one of the two,
Okay, you're right. People are.
So that's where, are these businesses being started here and then the folks are living elsewhere and paying taxes elsewhere? Or the business is still paying taxes here? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Our labs, businesses here, their houses here in Marquette. Siren is here.
It
house in
depends.
Marquette. Yeah, it depends on where they want to live. I mean,
I know it's not a
it's
clean
available.
answer.
Everyone that we brought in terms of our own employees and other joint ventures partnerships, we've wanted to stay in City of Marquette, yes.
Yeah.
And they have been able to do it. But that's
Thank you.
that's their choice.
And I know we've asked a lot of questions, but you are following up one of the most difficult meetings we've had to have
Understand.
in my tenure since 2017 on the commission, where we increased our residents' taxes. So we are questioning everything that comes before us now. So I really appreciate your
Respectfully,
detailed
I
answers.
absolutely understand that.
Sure. Commissioner Davis has another follow-up question here.
Nothing too difficult. Tell me when your meetings are and where?
Which meetings?
So the
LDF, I guess this is a question for
sure.
Leslie.
Yeah, our LDFA meets quarterly. Our upcoming meeting is July 18th. And then
At what time and where?
we've been meeting here. Well, we were at Invent, but then COVID, so we're probably planning on City Hall. We kind of been all over. I'm just looking to Mary for confirmation that we'll be at
Yeah.
City Hall May
And we can, if anybody wants to ever come to a Innovate Marquette Smart Zone board meeting and get the whole entire presentation, I'd be more than, you guys are
And
more
those are
than.
quarterly as well,
Those are
so
quarterly, yeah. I gave you the schedule for that, and we can bring you in to observe those as well, if you'd like.
I am hoping that the minutes of the meetings are more available on the city website. When I looked, there was only one in the last year and a half that was posted, so that would be nice. I appreciate that you brought up the complexity of the housing and the opportunities for trailing spouses and the child care, and it just that whole ball of wax just talks about the complexity of trying to build Marquette and the difficulties that are all intertwined that we're all trying to address. And I guess, Leslie, to you as the chair of the LDFA, I think you heard a message tonight that we are very interested in where our taxpayer monies are being spent, and that's where the LDFA comes in, and that's what we need you to be monitoring and overseeing, so.
Absolutely, and I would welcome, and I know, just echoing Joe too, look at that meeting scheduled to tour their facility, but I'd like, we'll have a July and October meeting as well, so welcome to that.
Well, this is an example of how we assist with technology. So Michigan Works is working on, child care initiatives, and there's a lot of things going on in that space. I spoke in a panel about using applications to create a more accessible child care. I've spoken with multiple other organizations who have come to the region to look at us to how do we integrate technology in that space to make it actually function properly, and how do we do that? How do we create apps? We create apps and wireframes and all these things, and we are supporting that in any way we can with technology. So we're embedded in all those conversations, but we're really trying to stay focused on how do we support them from a technology perspective, because that's really why that's a mission of the organization.
Well, thank you, Joe. I think this is really a really helpful exercise in understanding a little bit deeper, the inner workings of the good work that you all are doing. I think a little bit more financial information will be forthcoming, and whatever you can help share on tax revenue for the city and, demonstrating where that's coming in future presentations would be really great as
Paulette and I
well.
will be busy, so. Unfortunately, she couldn't attend tonight. She has a kidney stone that she's going to Green Bay to get surgery on right now, or she would have been here with us to explain a lot more about that, so.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you both joining us this evening.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, now we have 2 public hearings of items 3 and 4. These items are closely related, although they are 2 separate items. So item 3, conditional rezoning of parcel 0510156 on Forestville Basin Trail. This will require a roll call vote. City Clerk, could we have the background, please?
The Planning Commission held a public hearing on May 10th, 2022 for the consideration of rezoning parcel ID number 0510156, a 27-plus acre parcel that would be added to the Blue Heron Bluffs 2 condominium project if approved for rezoning from conservation and recreation to low-density residential. After conducting the public hearing, the following motion was made. It was moved by N. Fishkorn, seconded by A. Andres, and carried 5-0 that after conducting a public hearing and review of the application and staff report for 02-REZ-05-22, the Planning Commission finds that the proposed rezoning is not consistent with the Community Master Plan and does not meet the requirements for the Land Development Code, Section 54.1405, and hereby recommends that the City Commission deny 02-REZ-05-22 for the following reasons. 1, it is inconsistent with the Community Master Plan and the future land use map, and 2, the street system is inadequate, and 3, the utilities and services as provided are inadequate, and 4, the proposed rezonings could have negative impacts to surrounding land uses, specifically because of the density that could be allowed if this were to be rezoned. Prior to the vote to recommend denial of the rezoning application, several planning commissioners indicated support for the rezoning of this parcel. If the possible future land uses were able to be narrowed through an application for conditional rezoning. Pursuant to Article 54.1405H of the Land Development Code, the property owner may apply for a conditional rezoning, and conditions may be proposed at the time the application for rezoning is filed or at a subsequent point in the process of review of the proposed rezoning. Since the May 10 Planning Commission meeting, the applicant's representative/attorney has provided a conditional rezoning agreement, which meets the requirements of the Land Development Code and which is intended to address the concern voiced by the Planning Commission. Per Article 4 of Public Act 110 of 2006, the city shall not add to or alter the conditions presented in the conditional rezoning agreement presented, but it may establish a time period during which the conditions apply to the land, Section 405, subsection 2, after which time the zoning would revert to its former classification if the conditions are not satisfied. The request for a conditional rezoning of the parcel changes the receiving zoning district to low-density residential with conditional rezoning. The City Commission scheduled this public hearing at the May 31st, 2022 regular meeting. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, following the public hearing, adopt ordinance 711, rezoning parcel 0510156 from conservation and recreation to low-density residential with conditional rezoning. Approve the conditional rezoning agreement and direct the mayor and city clerk to sign both. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Members of the public wishing to make a comment on this public hearing have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and physical address unless you've already done so at this meeting. Do we have anyone for this public hearing? Public hearing is now open.
Hi, Adrienne Wolf. My business address is 115 South Lakeshore Boulevard, Suite A in Marquette. I am the attorney for the applicant, which is Cedar Point Family Trust, and I also have with me today the trustee, Bruce Pasola. This application for rezoning was after the Planning Commission raised some concerns about the density of the potential use with an unconditional rezoning request. We did then present a conditional rezoning agreement, which we believe addresses that, so that it limits essentially the use of the property to single-family residential. This is a 27-acre parcel, and the intent is to use it for 8 single-family residential homes. Okay. We also believe this conditional rezoning is most consistent with the surrounding uses, which are all single-family residential, and then it abuts the scenic residential zoning in the township of Marquette, which is, again, most analogous to the city's low-density residential. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Anyone else for the public hearing?
I'm Bruce Pasola, live at 595 Forestville Basin Trail, and I'm an applicant on behalf of Cedar Point Family Trust. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
If we do have any questions, we can call you up after the fact. Thank you. Anyone else for the public hearing? Anyone else? Seeing no additional folks for the public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, we have a motion on this item. Commissioner Stonehouse? Sure.
Your Honor, I motion to adopt ordinance 711, rezoning parcel 0510156 from conservation and recreation to low-density residential with conditional rezoning. Approve the conditional rezoning agreement and direct the mayor and city clerk to sign both.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Davis?
I will second the motion.
Okay, I'm going to take a turn. Before we do any discussion, I'm wondering if we could have a little bit more information from the Planning Commission. City Manager recommended that maybe if there was a motion to, if Chair Cardillo is here, if you wouldn't mind to share. I have a specific question for you. Thank you for being here. Sorry, I didn't give you a heads up ahead of time. I'm wondering, I have one question, and feel free to add whatever you'd like on this item, but if you could please explain how the Planning Commission makes decisions on rezoning consistent with the master plan and how that would relate to, obviously, this item, but it would relate to the next item as well.
Sure. So kind of going from my notes, but the main question, again, this is Joy Cardillo, the Planning Commission. The main question is this an appropriate location for the zoning, this zoning? So I don't have the map up here, but we basically take a look at the map and look what's around it. You know, we check for spot zoning, which is a list of questions that we ask, and this was clearly not spot zoning. And then, you know, we basically looked at adjacent parcels. And so in this case, you know, it was somewhat subjective, to be honest, because there's both conservation recreation surrounding it as well as residential. You know, we're always trying to sort of have property owners be able to do what they want to do, and we were able to sort of, I think, find a way to make this be something we thought would be acceptable without leading to something we thought that would kind of bleed out and increase density in that area. And so this we thought was possibly a path to, you know, allow the owner to do what they wanted to do without it sort of setting a precedent for density that, you know, maybe we felt wasn't consistent with the community master plan. So that was, I think, why we kind of pushed maybe towards this direction.
Thank you, Chair Cardillo. Before I open up to the commission, do any commissioners have a specific question for Chair Cardillo without getting into opinions and the rest of it? Commissioner Hill?
Would this rezoning set a precedent for other conservation and recreation zoned properties?
It's hard to say. You know, should somebody, I don't know who owns those properties that are conservation recreation that are adjacent to it, but should someone go for a request to rezone a property next to that, now that becomes part of the equation as we look at what's adjacent to it. So that was one of the reasons why I was very kind of, we want to make sure that the density of this is clearly not the density of a typical LDR district, because the adjacencies that we were looking at were this Marquette Township scenic residential, which has a lower density than our LDR district. Does that make sense?
Well, if I may, there's not that there's a, I think what you're saying is it's taken in context, yes. And it's not the question of precedent of like, well, now that it's been done once, it could happen again is not how decisions are made. In fact, it's done very much on the parcel. And what's
yeah,
next,
I mean,
next
this is not like an SLU where if it meets the requirements, we have to pass it. It's much more, like I said, this is subjective in a way. We do have the community master plan as guidance, and then we have this sort of rezoning criteria. Is it appropriate? Is the proposed use of the land is not as important as the fact that if the land is rezoned, any of the uses permitted in that zone may be established. Are the uses permitted in the existing zone reasonable? So it's sort of these set of questions that we go through.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Chair. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Davis looks like maybe had a follow-up question.
No, a really easy question, I think. Does the conditional zoning agreement that's been presented alleviate the concerns of the Planning Commission? Oh, I thought it was going to be a yes or a no.
One thing I want to say, so she can't speak on behalf of the Planning Commission as
yes,
an agreement
correct.
because
Okay.
they've not viewed it, so.
Thank you, yes.
So we just saw this, we haven't been presented with what you presented, I just read it quickly beforehand, so I really don't feel comfortable speaking to that. I think this is subjective for you guys to kind of review.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll go back to our regular discussion. Thank you very much, Chair Cardillo. That was helpful. Okay, so motion on the floor. Commissioner Stonehouse, you can start us off with discussion, then we'll go to Commissioner Davis. Thank you for entertaining my journey there.
Well, the only point I would make, Your Honor, is that I believe it meets all the requirements established by the Planning Commission after the fact, so to speak, with the document so filed.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, it was very interesting to read all of the Planning Commission's detailed minutes on this. It was kind of read like a novel, and it really provided a lot of insight to all of what the Planning Commission deals with when they consider these kinds of things. And I feel that what is before us today is appropriate for an approval.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Hill?
So this is one of those, as was mentioned, there's a lot to read in the packet, and for the public's sake, it is, if you're interested in how this all works, there's a lot to, the fact that basically a proposal was made, it was seen as too broad, and it's been narrowed, and we're actually trying to reduce the bureaucracy and reduce the need to go back and forth with the Planning Commission, that it could just come here. So I appreciate that the staff and the proponent of the project have worked to try to streamline the process and not try to make it too cumbersome. I'm scrolling through the many comments that we received from folks to just find the actual it was narrowed. The condition, the project proponent has narrowed the amount of uses from what is allowed in the complete, in the LDR, as was referenced by the Planning Commission chair. There are now a narrower set, which are restricted to single-family use, as was said by the attorney. So that is shown in the documents if you wade through. But the question that was raised repeatedly was the question of the road. And but then I will admit, in focusing on the question of what the uses are going to be, it was not clear to me whether the road was pertinent to this, or whether that was a concern with residents that actually wasn't pertinent. And can someone speak to that, whether it's the planning or city attorney or whoever that is? But there were a lot of concerns raised about the road.
Yes, and I do believe that those concerns were initially part of the decision and were able to be addressed, or those concerns were able to be addressed by really narrowing in on that focus on those conditions that were stated. That road is not owned by the city or maintained by the city. That is, I do believe, a private road, if I'm not mistaken.
So in terms of figuring out the conversation about what happens with the road, that's entirely outside of the city, and it's between the folks who live on the road. That's how private roads are managed?
So
Question.
this road, this is two separate condominium developments, and the condo owners are required to pay association dues, and they are also responsible for using, the board for using those dues to maintain, upgrade, or whatever that road needs. So that would be on the unit owners, including the potential new units, if this is approved and new units are added.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Other discussion? Pro Tem Mayor?
I just think it's worth adding that we have a housing unit development in front of us that, for once, isn't asking for us to front any sort of infrastructure funding. There's no tax incentive that they're looking for, or any sort of tax deferment. And that's just kind of a refreshing change of pace for once. Other
discussion? Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of questions. So one question that I have, I noted that some of the planning commissioners in the minutes, they were talking about they would really feel comfortable if this could somehow be a single family home only kind of development. But then in the actual conditional rezoning application, I believe there are quite a few permitted uses included. Is there a reason for that? And I guess I'm specifically interested, given that we recently said accessory dwelling units are a permitted use throughout the city, including in low-density residential, would it be possible for people to potentially develop LD or ADUs on these properties?
So if I may just kind of start answering that question.
Absolutely.
So there were permitted uses that were listed in there, including the ADUs that you had mentioned. However, if I get a moment, or if city attorney over here can jump in as well, there was further clarification that included those conditions. And I believe those were limited to single-family homes. And she's on the exact page right now instead of me flipping in. So I'm going to defer that over to Suzanne, but that would be clarified within that letter of intent.
So the Exhibit B, declares that the intent is for low-density residential with conditions district. And established to preserve quiet, attractive neighborhoods of detached single-family dwellings with a low density and compatible residential land uses. It then talks about what the permitted principal uses would be within that district that would be allowed, which is different than what the zoning would allow if the agreement was not in place. And my understanding is that the planning and zoning staff verified that this language does do what is needed. I had asked them to do that because I wasn't entirely clear what had gone on at the planning commission. It's my understanding that they did verify that.
Okay, so I'm looking at Exhibit B right now, conditional rezoning plan. All of these uses that are listed under permitted principal uses, dwelling, single-family detached, accessory use, single-family residential lots, etc., including accessory unit dwellings would be allowed. I think I'm on page 90 of our agenda packet, Exhibit B, conditional rezoning plan.
The answer is yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. I appreciate that. And then the LDC states that it's intended that developments in low-density residential will preserve natural features, including woodlands, wetlands, etc., floodplains. And I know there was also some concern about potential fire risk. How are we? Do we feel that we're adequately mitigating these issues? Are there any wetlands or that could be impacted? Is this in a floodplain? The fire risk situation. I'm curious if how we feel this is addressing those concerns.
I'll take a stab at that. First, the wetlands issue is regulated under state and the county building permit when they do that. As well, each one of the homes will undergo a plan review and subsequent site plan for that the fire department will also be part of that review team as well, where standards will need to be met with the current fire code they enforce.
Can I further elaborate on that if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course.
Because I did have this exact conversation with our fire chief this afternoon. And there are certain or specific arrangements that would be considered if it was an area where it's not necessarily a direct route or it would take us a little bit longer than normal to get to. There are other considerations and arrangements that are made for those specific areas, including mutual aid.
Okay, so we're not as concerned about the fire danger situation. We think that there are ways that we can mitigate that with our fire department, maybe working together with the township.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think those are the only concerns I had. I guess the thing that I still struggle with this development is that ultimately our future land use map, while it is a few years old, does say that this property should be preserved for conservation recreation, that's how this property should be zoned. Certainly 8 homes doesn't seem like it would have a substantial environmental impact. I do worry about the condition of the road, and I do also worry about whether we are really maybe going outside the bounds of what the community and the Planning Commission and others intended for this property when they created the future land use map and our current community master plan, which really should be guiding the decisions that we're making. It's not that we need to follow that exactly, but I think that's why I have had some concerns about this potential development, and I still am not 100% certain how I'm going to vote on it. I'm curious if colleagues have any thoughts on that specific, that long-term planning concern, especially with a new community master plan and a new future land use map potentially coming down the pipeline in the next year.
Commissioner Hanley, did you have your hand up?
I also saw all the things that everyone did, where the road, the different things, the fact that the Planning Commission originally said no, but after looking through what they did when they came back with what the Planning Commission had told them was needed to be done, I think they met all of the things, the standards that were put forth, and they do qualify for it. As Chair Cardillo stated, it is a very person-to-person decision on this. It's not going to set a precedent. And I am on the side of more housing in the area is better. They're meeting everything that we need, and I think that they will do it in a good way.
I think everyone has had a chance to speak at this point. I'll weigh in, and then I'll see if there's any other comments folks have. I have a little bit of a different approach on this one. I think Planning Commission has done a nice job vetting it. My major concern at this point is with the rezoning from conservation recreation to low-density residential. I understand we do from time to time change zoning. We just did it with the McClellan parcel from, I believe it was multifamily residential to conservation easement. And, you know, we do occasionally look at these things, but I have a harder time taking something out of conservation easement and moving it to a developed property, especially when the impact to some of our other goals, which is housing, is, I mean, 8 homes is quite a minimal impact for the trade of giving up a conservation easement zoned parcel. So I do have a little bit of language here. I wanted to quote from the LDC, Article 54.1405H of the Land Development Code. The property owner may apply for conditional rezoning, and conditions may be proposed at the time the application for rezoning is filed or at subsequent point in the process of reviewing the proposed rezoning. And then essentially the point that I'm making here is that also in the LDC, that it needs to be consistent with the master plan, recommendations, goals, policies, objectives in the master plan, and if conditions have changed since the master plan was adopted, consistency with recent development trends in the area shall be considered. Yes, we need housing, but where do we want the housing? I think we keep coming back to this, right? I think, I would like to see, as this master planning process, asking the public where we want housing, and I would personally think that we probably want it closer to transportation, closer to businesses for folks to be able to work and run errands, get groceries, and that kind of a thing. I don't necessarily support, even though it's low density, so there's probably not as much of an environmental impact converting from conservation recreation to single family. And I'm really glad Chair Cardillo came up, because I have been struggling with this, but I think because it is so subjective, that's where, you know, we all have our own take, and that's okay. I just want to let folks know why I will not be supporting this, but I may support others of a similar nature in the future. It doesn't set a precedent for me, but for me, I could not trade the cost benefit of 8 homes versus taking something out of conservation easement forever. If it's maybe a bigger development that we can justify getting some affordable or attainable housing units in, I might be able to make that trade-off, but I just don't see how taking something out of conservation easement, which is so important to our community, trades off for a different, also high priority goal for us. And if I could make that link, I could support it, but I'm not able to at this point. So I'll see if any others have discussion before we move into a roll call vote. I think Commissioner Stonehouse had his hand raised.
I would only point out, Your Honor, that this is a very small development. It increases the city housing stock. It immediately becomes a taxable piece of property to the city without any investment at all from the citizens of Marquette. And it is literally at the edge of the city limits. So I have no difficulty at all with changing it or changing the conservation side of the zoning, with the full expectation that our conservation activities that are already occurring on site will likely continue, i.e. NTT and related trails. So I see this as a very rare opportunity for the city to win everything. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us. And while I have some concern about how that may bounce up against the master plan, I understand the plan is an execute, it's not a do. So we have great flexibility there, and we're here to make those judgments. Thank you, Your Honor.
Pro Tem Mayor?
I think the only thing I would add to what Commissioner Stonehouse just said is that, you know, regarding changing the zoning from conservation or recreation, the McClellan property, I almost look at it differently, because that's, you know, we had a city-owned property, and we as the city decided to protect that and save it for future generations, where this isn't our property. And you know, if a valid argument could be made for the city to be dictating something regarding a private property owner's rights on their property, I could see it, but I don't think us just saying we want it to be this type of property and this type of zoning is a justifiable enough reason. And that's just my thoughts. Yes, more housing stock I definitely think would have been awesome, but at the same time, there's less impact to the environment because it's just so few of units. But that is just my thoughts and how I kind of went about looking at this.
Commissioner Hanley?
I just had a quick question. I know that there's trails on this, but is this property publicly available to be accessed?
No, and I think there were references within there that stated these are, they were allowing them to be on the property, but was not something that had an official or formal agreement.
Perfect. And then that is kind of where I stand as well. This is a private landowner's land. We are looking at what they can do with their own land. They met the requirements that we set forth. I think that trying to tell someone that they cannot use their land that they own when they're meeting things seems overreaching.
We have done that before, though.
I know we have, but I stand by it that it's overreaching.
Commissioner Hill?
And didn't I see something about potentially 40 acres somewhere else being also set aside? So I wanted to clarify that there was, but is there a way to codify that or somehow maybe tighten up the actual connection of that land to this agreement?
I believe that was within the township and not on the city land.
So as part of that condo development, is that correct? So there's this property's
Separate project, correct?
It is something that's beyond the city limits within the township, but it is referenced, I believe, several times. I'm actually trying to get to that location of that document. Suzanne, do you know off the top of your head where that was mentioned?
I don't. I mean, I've read it, but the materials are lengthy and I don't remember exactly where. Excuse me, but my understanding or recollection from that is that the intent was for that parcel to maybe become a conservation easement or something like that. I don't know if that would be part of the condominium or separate. Certainly we could ask the developer if we wanted to, but that was intended that this other parcel adjacent to it would be held for, recreation.
Yeah, we can call on privileged comment for the folks involved with this project if you'd like to approach the center podium. Thank you. I know that's a very specific question, so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As to the 40 acres, it is in the township. It is owned by the same developer, and we are currently in negotiations with, in terms of a development agreement with the surrounding condo associations, under which that 40-acre parcel would be either donated to one of the condo associations to be conserved or another nonprofit, so that it would remain in conservation.
Any other questions while they're up here, or is it unrelated? Okay, Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes, thank you. I was actually going to ask that we allow for privilege comment and some questions and answers. So thank you. I'm just curious if you could speak a little bit more about. I know you can't say for certain, right, or be held to this for forever, but just in general, what your plans or intentions are for the use of the property. I mean, it's only 8 homes, 8 lots with only one single family home and theoretically maybe an ADU allowable on each lot, but it's 30 acres of land almost. So do you imagine that most of that land will remain green space? How much leeway will people who are living in these homes have to alter the land that they're living on?
Well, a lot of it will be green space. Each of those sites is in excess of 2 acres. I only wanted to build 8. That when the density became low density, then I knew that we could, commit to that. That made other members of the association that I live in way more comfortable. In addition to that, I'm offering to our association, of which I'm a member, to take the 40 acres that's zoned resort, campgrounds. I mean, it's got all kinds of uses. I've had all kinds of mail coming from developers in California, Arizona, saying, you've got this property, I'd like to buy it. And I've, basically never responded to anybody. But the commitment that I made to our association was that I will take that 40 acres. So there's a total of 57 acres. 17 is in the city limits, and the other 40 is in the township, that we would take that remaining 40 acres and donate it to a conservancy or one of the associations. I don't know exactly how it will end up, but it's not going to be developed. So it's, I'm trading 40 acres for the right to be able to build on that land, on the part in the city. If I flipped it around, it'd be developed in the township, and the city part would remain as it was. But I wanted to do it in the city of Marquette and be able to donate 40 acres to some conservancy.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yeah, just one quick follow-up question on that. Thank you for that information. Do you imagine that the homes that would be built here most likely would probably be somewhat similar to the homes that already exist along Forestville Basin Trail? I mean, when you look at satellite view, the homes don't have a very large footprint or a huge impact. There's a lot of woodland and green space still in existence. Do you think that would probably be the case?
Certainly it will be the case. The homes that are currently built around the basin are very expensive because those lots were on the water, and those lots were a lot more money, and hardly any of the existing waterfront lots are 2 acres. So having two plus acres for these 8 lots, not on water, but in the woods, and that's where everybody wants to be. Our trails, by the way, we cooperate with the Quammen Network on not there, but the entire development, not just the parts that I developed, but the parts that our original association had. We want those trails open, and I've met with the trail builders, and they said, we're waiting to, when I get everything surveyed out and go through all the steps, then we'll get with the trail network and show them where here's your, find a place where you want to go, and it's great. Lots of people bought property out there because of those trails, and so it's nice to have them in the city, and their trail will go right down in front of where these homes are, and they'll be on the side of the hill, and it's going to be a really nice development.
Great, thanks, and thanks for providing some more information about your discussions with the NTN too. That's really helpful to know.
Any other specific questions for the developer from the commission? Thank you both. I appreciate you stepping up and answering some of those questions. Any other discussion from the commission before we do a roll call vote here? I'm not seeing any hands, so I think we'll move forward. If we could have the roll call vote, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor?
Yes.
And Mayor Smith?
No. Motion passes 6-1. Up next, we've got rezoning of property 595 Forestville Basin Trail. Roll call vote. This is item number 4. This will be a public hearing as well. Could we please have the background, City Clerk?
Of course. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on May 10th, 2022 for the consideration of a request for the rezoning of parcel number 1170101 located at 595 Forestville Basin Trail to be rezoned from conservation and recreation to low-density residential. After conducting a public hearing, the following motion was made. It was moved by N. Fishkorn, seconded by M. Larsons, and carried 4-1 that after conducting a public hearing and review of the application and staff report for 03-REZ-05-22, the Planning Commission finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Community Master Plan and meets the requirements of the Land Development Code, Section 54.1405, and hereby recommends that the City Commission approve 03-REZ-05-22 as presented. Votes: yes, Vice Chair M. Larson, N. Williams, N. Fishkorn, A. Andres, J. Cardillo. No, W. Primo. In accordance with Section 54.1405C2 of the Land Development Code, the Planning Commission is recommending the approval of this rezoning request to the City Commission. The City Commission scheduled this public hearing at the May 31st, 2022 regular meeting. Fiscal effect: none. Recommendation: following the public hearing, adopt ordinance 712 rezoning parcel number 1170101 from conservation and recreation to low-density residential as recommended by the Planning Commission and direct the mayor and city clerk to sign the ordinance. Our alternatives, deny the rezoning request.
Thank you, City Clerk. Members of the public wishing to make a public comment on this public hearing have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and physical address unless you've already done so. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hill.
I move that we adopt ordinance 712, rezoning parcel 1170101 from conservation and recreation to low-density residential as recommended by the Planning Commission and direct the mayor and city clerk to sign the ordinance.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Stonehouse?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Commissioner Hill, any discussion?
Yes, so could someone please explain how this relates to the previous action?
So this is a separate parcel from this, but similar process, except for the fact that this did not, the Planning Commission did not feel that there were any necessary conditions or anything added to this. They went through the same process as they do with the rezonings and taking into consideration the various factors that are outlined in the Land Development Code, and then also, pertaining to the Community Master Plan. So it is a one parcel, smaller parcel. I mean, the other one was one parcel as well, but that was 27 plus acres. This one is one. I believe the size is closer to 1 acre.
1.5. It says
1.5, thank you.
That's right, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Stonehouse?
Only, Your Honor, I think the Planning Commission did their normal, excellent job with it, and we can certainly run with it.
Any other discussion from the commission? I would just like to add that I could support and will support this because it did go through the entire process by the Planning Commission, and I want to support it. The first, or item 3 that we just voted on, got kicked over to us to make that decision, so I felt like I had to take it under a different light. So I will support the Planning Commission's decision on this one.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Thank you. There would be one house on this parcel? Is that?
If we'd like to ask the developer for privileged comment, I'm fine with that. If they don't mind coming up again. I feel bad.
I realize it doesn't actually directly say that here. Sorry.
Yes, there will be just one house on this site.
Okay. Any other follow?
Do you mind if I clarify?
Sure, City
if you may? So the difference also is this is not going to be split, whereas the others had the ability to be split into, I think it was about 8, or it was limited, yes, more complicated than that, but this one is not intended to be split.
This particular lot borders the township and the city. I mean, I can step into the country or go back in the city at a step. And there's a long story how the property that the city, we ended up with property in the city. That was a trade between Longyear and the Board of Light and Power. That's the adjoining neighbors, the Board of Light and Power. So as it worked out, a lot of property was added to the original lot number 1 in the township, and that's where the split, request came up. And so it's just going to be a single family home on a lot.
This particular parcel is already a part of the Blue Heron Bluffs Condominium Association, which has restrictive covenants in place which require it to be used for single family use.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion before we take a roll call vote? City Clerk?
Commissioner Bonzal,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. All right, up next, we have the consent agenda, which is 5 on the agenda. Roll call vote. Commissioners, do we have a motion on consent? Commissioner Hanley?
I move that we approve the minutes of the June 21st, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Crushed
I
it.
guess you could make that motion if you choose. I just didn't think you meant to. Do we have a second? Sorry, Commissioner Bonzel.
Yes, I will second that motion, Your Honor.
Any discussion? City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor?
Yes.
And Mayor Smith.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We have 2 items under new business. Item 6, Camp Cannabis Special Event Permit. City Clerk, could we have the background, please?
TFS Events LLC is requesting a special event permit for city parks, streets, buildings, and grounds to use Tourist Park Campground for the Camp Cannabis event. The term of the permit is from Friday, October 7th, 2022 until Sunday, October 9th, 2022. Staff worked with the city attorney, TFS Events LLC, to develop the permit. Several meetings between TFS Events LLC and city staff from the police and fire departments, community development, the clerk's office, the city manager's office, and community services have taken place, and all concerns derived from those meetings are reflected in those terms and conditions outlined in the permit. Per City Commission Policy 2021-01, Guidelines for Public and Private Marijuana Events, which was adopted October 25th, 2021, applicants must submit proof of adequate insurance no later than 30 days prior to the event. Fiscal effect, the Tourist Park Campground Fund will receive $12,705 plus miscellaneous in-kind reimbursements with the rental in fiscal year 2023. Recommendation, approve the special event permit for city parks, streets, buildings, and grounds with TFS Events LLC contingent upon the applicant submitting proof of adequate insurance no later than September 7th, 2022, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement following receipt of proof of insurance. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, we have a motion on this item. Commissioner Hanley.
I move that we approve the special event permit for city parks, streets, buildings, and grounds with TFS Events LLC contingent upon the applicant submitting proof of adequate insurance no later than September 7th, 2022, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement following the receipt of proof of adequate insurance.
And do we have a second? Pro Tem Mayor?
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Hanley, any discussion?
I am just very excited to see this come to our city. It is great for us to be one of the first in, I think, the country to do something of an event of this. I think it's awesome what they're bringing forth and the work that they've put into it. I'm excited to see how the event turns out.
And Pro Tem Mayor, anything to add?
I'm just would add that I'm also excited for this, and I hope everything goes well and it's very successful. And if I remember correctly, when we created this policy, the plan was to review it again in November, and this would also give us a sufficient way to actually have something to review as far as how it worked.
You have a better memory than I, but I believe you.
I made the amendment.
So I was hoping that maybe city staff could elaborate a little bit on the insurance issue. I plan to support the motion, but that's the only thing that I'm worried about. And I know that's kind of an ongoing piece that we're working through, and that's why we wanted, or at least I wanted to move it to new business, to just talk publicly and openly about that. Is honestly my only reservation about this event. So I just want to make sure we can get that in place.
I'm going to start it, and then it's
Sure.
probably going to get kicked off for further elaboration through the city attorney and assistant city manager. So first and foremost, I do want to say that the applicants have been incredibly, easy to work with and responsive, and really have been a good partner in this, and really trying to clarify a few things. The insurance is something that the city attorney is working through right now, and we are holding this, similar standards as what is required through liquor liability insurance. And that really is something that we are feeling is protecting the attendees, the applicants, as well as the city where the event is being held on city property. And Suzanne, I don't know if you have anything else you want to elaborate, and same thing with Sean.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add, is that we've been working with TFS Events, and we've been working directly with their insurance agent at FAST and trying to get something in place. It's a little difficult because, as everyone's aware, the federal government views cannabis sales and events and everything else a little differently than our state. And we're just kind of having a little difficulty getting any type of coverage that would cover an event like this. And so we're working through that, and we thought we would push it forward in order to, be able to allow them to get their license, and hopefully we can get that worked out in the meantime. We're still working with their insurance guy. He actually sent me an email at about 5 o'clock this afternoon. They're still working on it. But certainly, we need to make sure that we at least have the type of coverage for cannabis consumption on the property and damages that might, not damages necessarily, but harm that might occur to someone, like we would require for alcohol, especially given the fact that this is at Tourist Park with a body of water. There's people who will be bussed back out to their vehicles and driving home. Someone may get hurt. And really what I'm looking for is the equivalent of some type of dram shop coverage, because our insurance, I can't imagine, would cover that. If they don't have insurance, we don't have insurance, and someone dies, guess where that's coming from? It's coming from taxpayers. So we got to make sure that we've got something to cover that.
Well, I appreciate your due diligence, and I know this is a little bit of a complicated ball of wax, but it seems like we've got the right people on it. I was wondering if maybe we could have the event hosts. I mean, it's part of Fire Station, right? But it's TFX. Is that the name? If you would like to come up for privilege comment and talk about the insurance, I think that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
And was it Logan Stauber or Stober? I'm sorry.
Stauber.
Thank you.
So actually where we left off today, basically what we had to do is send the insurance out to different brokerages. As the attorney had mentioned, we operate in the cannabis space, so nothing is ever quite easy for us. They told us that they will begin giving us quotes back in 90 days from the event, so that we're hoping that within the next 2 weeks we'll be able to get those quotes in. So at this point in time, it's nothing that we're concerned about. We believe we'll be able to meet all the insurance requirements, and at this point it's just a waiting game, hearing back from the insurance companies.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate city staff weighing in as well. Do we have any specific questions before? Okay, Commissioner Bonsall?
Yeah, thank you. Maybe these are some things that you could answer, and maybe some of the answers will have to be provided by staff. But as long as we're talking about public safety and about insurance and things like liability and things like that, I'm curious if you could describe some of the safety measures and other things that you put in place for this event. I mean, we spent a lot of time thinking about things like Beer Fest or Food Fest, these big events that do have a big positive impact on the community, but carry some risk. How are you mitigating that? How are you making sure this event can be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think safety and security was top of mind for us when we started this process. We've contracted with Tribolt LLC, and so Tribolt has work security for a number of country music festivals. We're going to have over 30 security guards on site. You're going to see rental cop style vehicles on site at the property. They're going to be with us at all of the entrances and exits of the parks. They're going to be doing routine checks of all the fences to make sure that minors are not getting in. In addition to our security team, we're also going to have a CARES team. And so this could handle anybody who's maybe having a traumatic event, maybe they got too high, something of that nature. The care team will go around and actually supervise people for any sort of emotional distress. Maybe somebody got dumped at an event. We really don't know what's going to happen, but we want to make sure that we have a staff that's there to handle it. All of the security members are EMT certified, so we'll have an EMT tent, and they'll be able to stabilize and prep anyone in the event that there is an emergency for the paramedics to come in and actually take them out of the park. But knock on wood, that won't be an issue.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Can you confirm the music rumors are true?
Yes, the rumors are true. We're happy to announce Sublime is coming to our festival, along with the Floozies, Asher Roth, Afroman, and a handful of other artists. So we're very excited.
Thank you. That's primarily what I've heard about the event.
Albeit they wouldn't come to Marquette. We have to pick them up in Green Bay, but they're still.
Well, given the flight situation, that makes a lot of sense, given how troubling it's been to fly anywhere these last few days. But thank you again for all the care and concern you're showing. I do feel like it's an honor for us to actually get to go first in this space, and I appreciate your guys' hard work.
Absolutely. We did
thank you
take the
for-
fireworks out too, no fireworks.
Oh, I got it. Well, thank you. Appreciate you stepping up and providing a little bit extra context. It's really helpful for our decision.
Absolutely. And if there's any questions, and if you guys, again, at the event, we encourage you all to come out. You know, we want to make this as successful as possible so we can do this again in the future. So thank you
Great.
all.
Thank you. I just wanted to, you go ahead and take a seat. Thank you. Appreciate it. Before I forget, our Assistant City Manager, Sean Hobbins, he wrote the policy on this, and it's pretty groundbreaking even across the country. So, you know, knock on wood, I'm hoping this is a really successful event. Success for your business, a success for the city, and I think a success for this commission and being a little bit proactive in how we deal with these things. So thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. All right, other discussion before we move into a vote here? I think we're all set, and I just have to recall, this is not a roll call vote. So all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Last on new business, we have item 7, purchase of a used fire truck. City Clerk, could we have the background, please?
The fire department utilizes two 2004 Pierce Arrow XT fire trucks in their daily operations. Both fire trucks have exceeded their average useful life of 15 years and are experiencing frame corrosion and issues. The trucks have been included in the motor pool capital outlay replacement schedule and were scheduled to be replaced in the 2023-24 and 24-25 fiscal years. One new truck has already been ordered and is 22 months out. During a routine 90-day inspection on Unit 2052, staff discovered that the truck's frame was missing a significant piece of material. Further inspection showed cracks running up the side of the frame. Motor pool staff recommends the truck be taken out of service immediately and replaced with a used fire truck until a long-term solution is found. Motor pool and fire department personnel have been researching used fire trucks ranging in price from $25,000 to $150,000. 2 replacement candidates were physically inspected in Wisconsin and one in Chocolate Township. A 1999 Pierce Saber located in Pittsville, Wisconsin has been found to be the best option and will adequately meet the operational needs of the fire department. Due to the extremely low mileage on the vehicle, staff estimates that the used truck will have a minimum useful life of 5 years. The cost to purchase the recommended truck is $39,000. Fiscal effect, the fiscal year 2021-2022 fire department operating budget contains a significant funds for this purchase. Recommendation, approve the purchase of used 1999 Pierce Saber from Pittsfield Fire Department, Inc. of Pittsfield, Wisconsin, in the amount not to exceed $39,000. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. I motion to approve the purchase of a used 1999 Pierce Saber from the Pittsville Fire Department, Inc. of Pittsville, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $39,000, and to officially name it in honor of Mayor Smith as fire department tradition dictates.
I didn't see that coming. We have a second on that motion. Commissioner Bonzel.
I will second that motion, Your Honor.
Discussion, Commissioner Stonehouse.
Well, Your Honor, it has long been a tradition of the fire department that all trucks acquired during a mayor's tenure are named in honor of that mayor, and this certainly is an appropriate occasion for that.
Commissioner Bonzel, discussion.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Stonehouse's assessment of the naming of the vehicle. I don't think more needs to be said about that, other than that you've served the community as mayor for 3 years, and timing seems to be on your side with this one. So, I mean, this is clearly financially a really good deal. We just spent about 20 times this amount of money on a new fire truck. I mean, granted, it's brand new, but it's the same brand. This one has, 20,000 miles on it. And this is an emergency. The fact that one of our trucks just broke down is exactly why we just bought a brand new truck with a large chunk of our ARPA funding a few weeks ago. So if we can, I think this also has the added benefit of getting us out of this weird situation where we have to replace 2 extremely expensive fire trucks at the same time. and get us at least a few years of separation on that replacement, that life cycle of our main vehicles for our fire department. We can get at least 5 years out of this. I think that would be fantastic. Hopefully we can get some more. But this is probably the best deal the city's going to get on almost anything this year, I think, after reading through the specs and hearing about this from staff.
Commissioner Hanley?
Okay, I just have a question. I get that we won't always be able to find a truck at this price, but I did the math that if this one lasts 5 years and the truck that we're purchasing is estimated to last 20 years, it's a lot of savings. Is this something we should be doing regularly? Purchasing trucks that last 5 years versus purchasing an $800,000 vehicle and saved, $600,000?
Certainly, that is a very, it sounds like a really good plan. However, when you think about the long-term reliability, we may not always be able to find something like this. This was actually one that caught us by surprise. We were looking at a $120,000 vehicle rather than a $40,000 vehicle. So this one was a surprise. But when we think about 5 years turnover for a vehicle, it's not for something of this nature. It's not something we really want to rely on. Is it something that could help us in a pinch if this were to happen again? Certainly, but that's not necessarily the long-term goal. And then also technology changes. This one, we do have to make some modifications in order for storage to be adequate and so on. So,
okay,
but I like how you're thinking.
Okay, even if we were to go and find one that lasts 10 years, though, is this something that we should be looking at in the future to be a cost savings, like not buying brand new necessarily, maybe not as old as this one or as small, but like a lower cost? I just look at it and I can't help but see the huge difference and look at our budget and go, could this have helped us a lot more? Could that $800,000 have been spent in a different way?
I don't want to say that that is something we will not explore. We will certainly keep this on our mind if this works out well. But like I said, there's other things that we do consider, like technology, safety standards, safety features, things like that. But it's not about the shiny truck, as I think it's easy to assume. So.
Also, are we keeping it yellow?
That is something that often the commission doesn't get to do, is pick the paint colors. So I do want to say that we are receiving quotes on the cost to wrap it. At this point, we're looking at potentially a quarter of the cost. So it's something we weigh our options, but we don't know what the rest of the year holds and the rest of our fleet holds. So we are going to take that into consideration, but that's not on the table right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill?
So when you say quarter of the cost, you're saying it would cost $10,000 to change the color?
Potentially.
I'm all in favor of writing the mayor's name on the truck, but I don't think I want to spend $10,000 to change the color at this time. And we are naming the other truck after someone as well, right? Can you just remind us who the new truck is going to be named after?
I can't remember if there is a commission policy for naming vehicles at this point, but there's been discussion around the department on having potentially some other naming ideas, such as fallen firefighters or honored firefighters in that instance. So that's not something we have put any real thought into at this point in the process.
Yeah, because that one we won't take delivery on for another 20 months, right? Yeah. So. I share the Commissioner Hanley's excitement, and maybe you guys could help me buy my next car because I'm having trouble. And also that, of course, as we move further ahead, the electric vehicles, there will be grants, there will be price reductions over time. So I think this sounds like a wise use of our funds, but knowing that the technology is expected to change rapidly, I appreciate the care that was taken to find this unit.
Pro Tem Mayor, did you have some discussion? But I saw your hand.
Just two things. One, if I recall correctly, Mayor Smith was planning on getting her name on anything because she's a little too humble. So I'm glad Commissioner Stonehouse pulled a fast one there. I also have a question for probably our motor pool team. Can we scrap as much as possible and salvage the truck that we're replacing to keep this one and I believe the other one we have in working as long as possible.
Yeah, that would be the plan to save what just broke, save it for parts. Some of the items do have to come off, the one that just broke onto this new one, some medical cabinets and some lights and some things like that, but everything we can to save money.
Awesome, thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Just a quick question. It's same company, different models. I'm just wondering if it has the same capacity, and you said that there's some modifications that need to be made, and maybe you just mentioned them, but just how significant they are. So first of all, are they the fire trucks of equal ability?
You know, I probably have to, I'm not a fire truck guru. I'd have to refer probably to the fire chief on that. But as far as like some of the cabinets and stuff have to move over since things have changed over the years, how we do business. So some of those cabinets have to come over. We figure we probably have about a week's worth of work to change it over. But as far as I don't know if Ian wants to come up. He can speak to the comparison.
Yeah, with the truck itself, it does have a comparable water capacity, 750 gallons. It has the same pump capacity and hose carrying capacity. My understanding is it needs small things, new tires, new rear springs. We need to switch over, like Eric said, some of our equipment off of the old truck onto this one because it isn't set up the same way. As of right now, without seeing it, I believe we'll be able to swap over everything we need to be able to hold the gear that we need size-wise. If I can, I will say, you know, finding a truck like this is kind of finding a diamond in a rough, or like finding a used car that's been in a garage for 20 years and hasn't been driven. We don't see them very often. But it will work for a stopgap at this time to help us alleviate the problem that we're in. Thank you.
I don't know that I have anything to add. Thank you, Commissioner Stonehouse. I'm humbled. I appreciate it. Would not have been my idea, but I will embrace it, and I will accept the honor with grace. So
They'll
thank
let
you.
you take it home too.
It sounds like in about 5 years it'll be go right in my, I'll buy it and it can go right in my garage.
Your kids can learn to drive on
Oh
it.
goodness. All right, I think we can go ahead and take a vote on this item. Commissioners, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to our second public comment session of the evening. 3 minutes per person, name and physical address. You can approach the center podium if you have any public comments. Anyone for public comment?
Anything goes, right? Sort of. I'm Barb outside, 1324 North Front. I just want to put it on the record that on Thursday at 6 o'clock at the League of Women Voters is holding a community forum for the House District 109. So that is from 6 to 9 at the, Marquette County Township Hall. So I'm just, like I said, wanted to get that on the record. It's for, like the forums we have here, only it's for the, just like, God, I can't even speak. I'm going to practice this so that I can come up here and just talk really freely and in a relaxed stance. So anyway, hope to see people there, and I hope people are watching and attend on Thursday. Any questions?
Okay. Anyone else for public comment?
Yeah, I have one thing. So I recognize there's a national lifeguard shortage right now, so I'm kind of on a side topic. My business I was talking about, we build electronic beach safety systems. So they're color-coded electronic flag systems. We're completely sold out of stock, so I'm not soliciting you to buy anything. But just keep that in mind that there's solutions coming out that you won't need to, run-of-the-mill, hire as many lifeguards and, every year maintain them. So we're right here in Marquette. Hopefully we'll be made right here in Marquette, but if you're interested, you can talk to Cody and he can connect us. But I just wanted to let you know there is something out there. So thank you.
Dave Campana, 1711 Grandview Drive, South Marquette. I'm here tonight because I totally believe 100% in the positive effects of adding fluoride to the water. Fluorination of the water is one of the best things that any community anywhere can do for its citizens. I commend the city of Marquette for having a water fluoridation program. There are 2 points I want to make to you. 2 points, and I want you to listen to this. First point, fluoride in the city of Marquette's water is completely safe. It's highly effective in preventing dental cavities in children and adults. 100% safe. Point 2, fluoride in the water in proper concentration does not cause cancer, arthritis, kidney disease, low IQ, thyroid disease, or neurotoxicities. I say this because there's literature that's been provided, it's been studied by scientific bodies such as the American Dental Association, the CDC, the American Medical Association, the Academy of Pediatrics, the U.S. Surgeon General, the American Public Health Association, World Health Organization, International Association of Dental Research. I can go on, but every credible, scientific, reputable organization in the world is 100% in favor of fluoride in the water. I've got the literature, I can give it to you. I trust that you don't get your information off Facebook. Facebook is not accurate, it's somebody saying something. These organizations, when they put out their statements verifying fluoride, it's subjected to peer review. That's an independent body of scientists that study the results and say yes or no, and they all say yes. You can't say something unless it's been subjected to peer review. It's very difficult to believe that. What is fluoride? It's an inorganic mineral. It's found in plants, soil, rocks, in every body of water in different amounts, usually low amounts. If you go out and drink Lake Superior water, you're getting fluoride. It's just not enough to do anything. The U.S. Public Health Service recommends that fluoride be ingested in the amount of...
Excuse me, Mr. Campana, that's 3 minutes.
That was
Thank
3
you.
minutes?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I have so much more. Sorry. You get my point.
Anyone else for public comment?
Silas Talley, 149 Oak Ridge Drive, Marquette, founder of Ambitious Games, and Joe and Dave invited me out here. I didn't really have any comments prepared, so I didn't come up earlier, but I've been a Smart Zone client for the last 5 years, I think. And I wanted to share a quick update on what that's meant to me after watching everyone else come up here, since I think I'm probably the longest client of everyone who came up and spoke today. I began this year with a company of 7 people, and we grew to 14 people pretty much overnight. And 6 of those people are already in Marquette now. 3 more are hoping to move here sometime in the next year. We've got people from downstate, Colorado, the UK even, looking to move here overseas. And initiatives like Make It Marquette are helping us with that process of moving highly skilled tech workers to the area. And the challenges they're facing are the challenges that were mentioned today: housing and jobs for their spouses and family. In particular, I've got an employee, Robert. He lives in the UK, in Newcastle. He wants to move here because he's tired of living in the big city. He wants to live where he can walk to the lake, has space to hike and bike. And the biggest challenges he's facing right now are housing and what to do with his father who lives with him. And so things like Make It Marquette are the resources that I can hand to him to look for things like housing. And that's really all I have to say, is that I really appreciate everything that Joe and Dave are doing. And I'm actually seeing the impacts of that this year, which is amazing. So thank you for continuing to support them and support us in turn. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Seeing no additional public comment is now closed. Oh, that's for the end of the meeting. It's been a long day. All right. Commissioners, we'll start with Commissioner Hill and go down the line.
Thank you. And I would like to, I have a couple questions for the city manager regarding the presentation by Innovate Smart Zone. In particular, I heard that there has been a focus on the countywide impacts, but I wondered if the County of Marquette does provide any funding to the group?
I do not believe that their millage or their tax funds are included in that TIF capture.
And then my other question was, where'd it go?
While you look that up,
yeah.
I'm just going to clarify that it includes the city, local capture, state, and local school millage as well, a portion of it.
And so with the impact, with our raising the general fund millage, that doesn't impact any of these other millages, correct?
I don't believe so. It's also important to note that our cap or our maximum allotted amount for our capture through the LDFA at least is, I believe, the maximum is 400,000.
Okay.
Getting a nod, yep.
So, and I bring this up because unfortunately, last year, we also had a lot of questions about the finances of these organizations, both the LDFA and Innovate Marquette. And I hear the good work that is happening, but if you do not tell your story adequately with the numbers, why would we continue to fund you? I'm very, and I mean that. We have people who are doing hard work, who are not receiving what they need, who are, the problems that we're hearing. And this future-oriented work is very, very important. But for 2 years in a row, we have had wholly inadequate financial reporting from this organization. Wholly inadequate. And that we had to ask for it to come back to us. So if you are proud of your work, please give us the information that everyone else who comes before this body does. Their annual financial statements, where the money is spent, and how they plan to meet their goals in the future. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Thank you, Your Honor. I was one of the founding commissioners, I think, of the Smart Zone when we brought it online. And part of the reason for doing that, I think, was a general feeling that we were getting tired of 3 exports coming out of Marquette County, and particularly the city of Marquette, and that was our lumber. We shipped that from all over the Upper Peninsula, rocks in the form of iron ore, and then our children that were leaving the Upper Peninsula, leaving Marquette, particularly to work somewhere else because they couldn't get good work close at home. So we viewed, I think, in some measure, the Smart Zone to be a fixer of that, to hopefully work through the opportunity to provide high-tech local jobs for local people, so to speak. We like the people coming from out of town too, but basically the opportunity for folks that were in the city, especially, again, the youngsters, to be able to earn a good, constructive, family-supporting income. So that became and is still extraordinarily important. But you've got to, as Commissioner Hill said, you've got to tell the story better. There's so much mash up there, there's so much jargon up there that you have to cut through it with a chainsaw to find out what are you really doing in human terms, and how does that relate to the city of Marquette in very human economic terms, so we know what we're getting for the money, our citizens know then what they're getting for the money that we are investing. And that is a considerable amount of money, certainly over time. I think we all have great hope for the future, and we understand the importance of it, and we understand what can be, but you've got to tell us what we are doing now, because all of the infrastructure that we need for the city is exactly what the Smart Zone needs too. We discussed buying a fire truck. Well, that's part of that infrastructure, and that's $50,000, $40,000 gone. You know that the city is extraordinarily transparent with its budget and how it presents it and how it makes it available. And we ask for the same from you, I think, so we better understand where we are in this journey. Other than that, Your Honor, last item is 4th of July is coming up. I would ask everybody to please remember fireworks. Remember that we do have a city ordinance on fireworks, where they can be used, where they can't be used. And I would hope that this year, the police department would be very enthusiastic in the enforcement of that, as you typically are, because of the danger involved, not only to dogs and animals and pets and older people, IR1, but just folks out and about town. And officer, if you have anything, or detective, rather, anything more to say to that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I can tell you over the 4th of July weekend, we're going to have pretty much the entire police department working. So there's going to be a lot of enforcement that's going to be going on within the city of Marquette. As far as fireworks go, you know, and any sort of violations, we will be enforcing them.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly a very interesting meeting tonight. We got some good work done. I would share my colleagues' requests or, concerns, some of their concerns about, the presentation we had tonight, but I'm sure we'll get the information that we need, and certainly a lot of good things are happening. One of the things that stuck with me, aside from the stories of the individual folks who are starting cool new businesses in our community, potentially bringing jobs and investment to our community, is that economic development isn't just about attracting people here, but it's also about keeping people here. People who maybe grew up here in Marquette, or who have adopted Marquette as their hometown, but maybe are without opportunities, might be forced to leave. People who've come to college here. We have NMU as a huge engine for attracting people to our community, and we need to make sure that they can actually have economic opportunities and stay here in order to take full advantage of that very unique asset that we have in Marquette. And so I think that, earlier we had a brief discussion about this tension this apparent tension of, well, we want economic growth, but we have a limited housing stock. Housing affordability is an issue. Housing prices are going up. And I think maybe it was Mayor Smith, I apologize if it wasn't you, but said something like, well, we're bringing people in, maybe they have more capital than the average person in Marquette, generally, although not in all cases, and are contributing to this housing issue in some way. And I think that is certainly one way to look at it, and gentrification is a very real thing in Marquette and in many other communities. And so we need to think about how we deal with that. But I think it's also abundantly clear, not just from what we heard tonight from some individual business owners and entrepreneurs, but also from folks from the LDFA and Innovate Marquette, what we've seen from organizations like Invest UP and the MEDC. Housing affordability is limiting our community's economic growth. It might be the single greatest limiting factor on our community's economic growth and our future prosperity at this point. And so I think rather than looking at it in a negative way, we should think about, well, what is the solution to gentrification? What is the solution to this housing crisis that we're facing? And I think the answer is certainly not to limit economic growth. And it's also certainly not to sort of not be a welcoming community. It's to make sure that we're building enough housing, that we can offer enough housing and the right kinds of housing at the right price points, so that people who work in Marquette, own businesses in Marquette, go to school in Marquette, can actually live in Marquette. And so I think tonight, as at several other meetings in the recent past, we've heard that housing is an issue, this time from sort of a dollars and cents economic development standpoint. And I think that's a really important perspective to think about too when we're talking about how important affordable housing is and why it needs to be, at a minimum, a top 2 or 3 priority for the city over the next few years here. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Davis?
Well, first let me congratulate our Arts and Culture Department for a very successful art week that was just a lot of fun and showed off a lot of what we could do here in Marquette. Barb, thank you for talking about the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for next Thursday. It's something that should be of interest to all of us as we look at who our next legislator is going to be. I really, really appreciate the stories that were told tonight about the Innovate Marquette, because without those stories, we can't tell the stories. And how the information is presented to us is so vitally important. And we do need to answer that question to our taxpayers about what are we getting for the money that we are spending on Innovate Marquette. So I think you've heard that message enough, and we will just move forward. And, we want to be your cheerleaders and to support that and to continue that support. Lastly, the 4th of July, yes, have a good 4th of July. In addition to the fireworks, I know that in the last several years that we've had issues on the beach, especially we don't know what kind of weather we're going to have, but when the weather is good, we have a lot of, Margaret, you will like this, a lot of litter on the beach. And we've had many volunteers clean up the beach the day after. So thank you to those volunteers ahead of time that take their own time to pick up after other people. And really, I hope that those who are using our parks and our beaches are going to be respectful and leave only the footprints and not all the other stuff. Thank you.
Commissioner Hanley?
I don't really have a ton today. I think I'm good. Thanks.
Pro Tem Mayor?
All right, I'm just going to hit quickly also on Innovate Marquette. Again, I just want to thank Joe for coming presenting, but also several entrepreneurs coming out and several businesses to kind of speak from your perspective for it. I think that's really important. Joe, I'm hoping we can do maybe a tour for us sometime in the near future, and if you maybe could get some volunteers from some of your clients or some of the entrepreneurs you have to maybe actually kind of show us some of the things they're doing. I think that would help a lot of people understand some of the amazing innovations that they're coming up with. I'm also very excited again for, I want to make sure I say this correctly, our Camp Cannabis special event. I really do hope everything goes well and that you're able to get the insurance to actually do the event. Other than that, thank you.
I think everything I was going to talk about has already been covered, so I will save us the time. The one thing I was hoping our city manager might be able to touch on is fluoride. I know that has been something that has come up. I remember back when I joined the commission in 2017, and Commissioner Stonehouse would remember this. We had a lot of discussion on this, and I feel very confident in where we're at with continuing to use fluoride. I also have a family member who's a dentist and explained to me and provided research-based articles from the University of Michigan where she attended school to become a dentist. So I feel quite confident, but I was hoping maybe you could weigh in on that a little bit or let us know if you'll come back with more information for the next meeting.
Yeah, certainly, and actually, I think Mr. Campana, who was out somewhere over there, really cited quite a few of the sources from all the way from the CDC to EPA and things like that. But really, according to the state, over 75 years of research has shown, and even the CDC really affirms that adding fluoride to community water supply is safe, effective, and actually a cost savings to families and the U.S. healthcare system. So the protective effects of having that cannot even be effectively replicated by brushing and flossing alone. So this is really something that does help with that. Now, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services monitors fluoride levels in community water systems by working with our local water operators and providing that relevant education and training to city officials, water operators, and other staff. So EGLE is also a part of the regulatory agency for water fluoridation in Michigan and ensures that fluoride levels do not exceed secondary and maximum contaminant levels. So there is a slew of information I can absolutely send over the links to the City Commission and make sure that it's a reminder on our website as well. The water quality report is available for the past year and does specifically state those levels of detection, and of course they are within the healthy and normal range. So I do have all the confidence that we are evaluating all of our options, obviously, but also making sure that providing that additive is definitely safe and for community benefits and is supported by many of the agencies that I listed above.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I don't have anything else. So City Manager, if you had anything else you wanted to cover?
Oh man, we covered a lot, yeah. So I don't have anything else further to add except for to really give a lot of kudos to the assistant city manager, whose birthday is tomorrow, but really give a lot of kudos for his hard work on the event policy for marijuana temporary events. So it's really a big deal, and I have a lot of confidence in the research and the work that he has done, and that it also has been in a partnership with several other departments as well, including the clerk's office on this. So really team effort, and really a great policy that was written there. Proud of that one. So that's all. Thank you.
You should be proud. We are adjourned at 8:29 PM. Thanks, everyone.